Hello everybody and welcome to Journal Auto YouTube channel. My name is Alex and today I will review the Škoda Citigo in electric version. And what I will say in this video about the Škoda Citigo, and by the way, this is how it is pronounced in Czech Republic because the Škoda name is a Czech name. So you saw that that S has a hat over it. So it is because it's pronounced sh, so it's Škoda, and that's why I pronounce it Škoda. So everything I will say about this car, it also applies to Volkswagen E-Up. So if you are interested in a Volkswagen E-Up, you can continue watch this review because it is the same car and this car is the twin of Volkswagen E-Up, also along with the Seat Mii. I made a review of the Dacia Spring, which is the cheapest electric car in Europe. And the Volkswagen E-Up and Škoda Citigo are the second cheapest electric cars in Europe. Sadly, the Škoda Citigo is not being sold anymore, but Volkswagen E-Up, after a short break, it's again on sale, but this time the price went quite a lot up. And while, at least here in Romania, the Dacia Spring starts from 20,000 euros, and for those in UK, I will put on the screen the conversion in British pound. So, while in Romania, now the Dacia Spring starts from 20,000 euros without incentives, the Volkswagen E-Up starts from 26,000. So, Volkswagen Up is 6,000 euro more expensive than the Spring. So, in this clip, I will compare all the way this car with the Spring, even if I don't have the Dacia Spring with me, but I will compare it having the Spring in mind to see if those 6,000 grand really worth. Now, this car has a battery with a capacity of 32.3 kilowatt hour. This is a net capacity, while the Dacia Spring has a capacity of 26.8 kilowatt hour. Also, compared to the Spring, it has 83 horsepower, while the Spring has only 45 horsepower, and the maximum torque of this car is 212 Newton meters, while in the Dacia Spring is 125 Newton meters. You see that this car has more torque and also more power, but if you think that this power it will be felt in the maximum speed, then you're wrong, because Dacia Spring has a maximum speed of 125 kilometers per hour, which was a matter of joke for many people, and this car only 130 kilometers per hour. So this power, this extra power, will help you if you want to overtake someone else, but not in terms of maximum speed. Also, the Volkswagen E-Up and the Škoda Citigo are 200 kilograms heavier than the Dacia Spring, and also it has a 3-star Euro NCAP rating, but that was in 2019, while Dacia Spring got 1 star in 2021, and from 2019 to 2021, the standards of Euro NCAP were even more harsh than were before, so went even higher. Nowadays, I think it will get around also 1-2 stars if they will be tested at the standards from 2021. Also, if you are interested in a Volkswagen Up or a Škoda Citigo, you can also buy this car with an internal combustion engine, 1.0 liter naturally aspirated engine for the Škoda with 60 and 75 horsepower, and the Volkswagen Up has as an extra the 1.0 turbo petrol engine that develops 90, 100 or 115 horsepower. So you have 3 levels of power depending on what you want. The fuel consumption, the energy consumption for this car officially is 14.8 in WTP standard, while for the Dacia Spring it's 13.9. But also you will see, because today the weather was very good and the conditions outside were also almost perfect, I got under 10 kilowatts hour fuel consumption, which is a great value. So stay with me to find out if the 6,000 euros extra is worth, or you should stick with a Dacia Spring. So this is how the Škoda Citigo looks from outside. The only difference compared to the Volkswagen E-Up, it's the front grille, and E-Up has some LED front lights that have an L shape, but otherwise the car is identical. The first difference that you notice compared to the Dacia Spring is that the hood is shorter, and also the car is also 13 centimeters shorter. Škoda Citigo and Volkswagen E-Up have 3.60 meters in length, while the Dacia Spring has 373, but I will be curious if there is a difference regarding the room in the back. Otherwise, the car has a very simple design, and curious thing, the distance between the front wheel and the back wheel, it's the same as in the Dacia Spring, which is 2 meters and 42. The wheels are quite narrow, 165 millimeters wide and 14-inch steel wheels with plastic covers, and on the back we have drum brakes and not ventilated discs. You also can see that the back window doesn't go down, but you open it just a little from here. And the sound, let's hear the sound. It sounds, I don't know if better than in the Dacia Spring, but it sounds as empty metal. In the back, the car looks pretty good, I would say. We don't have anymore the Škoda badge. Instead, we have the full name. And this is why it's pronounced Škoda, because of this S with this hat before the S, which is pronounced in Czech as Š, so it's Škoda. And let's see the trunk. The trunk is quite big for a car in this class. It measures 250 liters, but it's less than in the Dacia Spring that measures 290 liters. And also there is a lot of visible metal here in the trunk, not covered, which I don't remember to have seen in the Dacia Spring. But compared to the Spring, we have 2 hooks here and 2 hooks here, and also a storage space here. And under the floor, there is no sparing wheels, but at least there is also some storage space. Another thing compared to the Spring is that the trunk is very deep, so it will be harder for you to take out heavier things than in the Spring. And here in the door of the trunk, there is plastic, but more plastic than in the Spring. In Spring you have plastic here in the middle, otherwise it is empty metal. Here it's not the case, but we have empty metal here. I will now be entering in the back of the Škoda Citigo, which is the same with the Volkswagen E-Up, as I said. So it will be the first time I will get inside, and I'm very, very curious. This car being 13 centimeters shorter than the Dacia Spring, I am very curious to see if I fit in there, and let's see. Okay. Well, my first impression is that it's a little better than the Dacia Spring, even if the car is shorter, but because the hood is also shorter. There is not much knee room. I'm still hitting the front seat, as you can see. In the front seat, it's also pushed to the back. That's true, because I'm quite tall. I'm 1 meter and 82 centimeters tall. But headroom, 4 fingers. The central tunnel is very big, because also this car, it is based on a platform for an internal combustion engine car. 3 people here? Not really. I mean, only very thin people, but otherwise you cannot carry 3 people here. The bench doesn't feel quite good, but what is very good compared to the Dacia Spring is that the side window is bigger, and you don't feel as much as claustrophobic as in the Dacia Spring. As you see, it is bigger, but sadly, compared to the Dacia Spring, the window doesn't go down. You can only open it a little for here to have a little bit of air, but otherwise no window opening for you, sadly. But I can stay here for a short trip in the city, but no more than that. So this is how the car looks inside, but before going inside, just look at here. A lot of visible metal. At least in the Dacia Spring, there is also hard and cheap plastic, but it covers almost all the door. In this case, we have cheap plastic here, and it doesn't even cover all the door. This is empty metal, empty metal. And to be honest, this door pocket, at least wannabe door pocket, it's just a joke. Look at here, it's not deep at all. You can only put here some napkins or your phone, but otherwise nothing. This car is only made for 2 people in the back, because as you can see, it has only 2 seat belts. This is how it looks inside. For cost reducing reasons, the headrests from the front seats are integrated, just like in the Spring, but this takes a lot of visibility for those who are staying in the back. And as I said, the central tunnel, it's very, very high, but at least you have a cup holder here. And that's all, nothing else. A typical thing for the Volkswagen and Škoda models is this little hook in the back, and also on the right side, which is very useful for putting your coat or your shirt, and this thing Spring doesn't have, and I like it a lot because it's very, very practical. In the front, things are way, way better than in the Spring, because compared to the Spring, at least I can adjust the seat on height, and I can put it down at maximum, and I can have a comfortable position even if I'm quite tall. In the Spring you cannot do that, and I was riding like that, and my sight was somewhere around here, you know, in the upper side of the windshield, which was awful. The seats are also very comfortable. It offers a lot of support, and I don't feel when I drive it that I will roll down over the passenger. Also, the windshield is bigger, and also the side windows. Let me show you. The side windows are also quite big, and it offers you, even if you are tall, a feeling of not a comfort but roominess, you know. Even if you are tall, you can feel roomy here. It feels roomy compared to the Spring, where I was feeling like claustrophobic and suffocated even in the front. Here in the Škoda Citigo and Volkswagen E-Up, the things are much, much better. Now let's go inside to the front to show you how this car looks, what option it has. In the front also we have a lot of visible metal, empty metal, and also cheap plastic. See? Cheap plastic, but at least we have electric front windows, and the door pockets are quite deep, which is great. As I told you, we have at least height adjustment for the seat, and here we also have a manual adjustment for the steering wheel, which I don't remember to have seen in the Spring. Here it's an adjustment for the height of the headlights, and here it's something normal for Volkswagen, from where you turn on the headlights and other things. In the front, this is what the driver sees, so we have nothing digital. In the Spring we have a digital screen. It's black and white, but at least it's a digital screen. Here we have analog, so everything is analog. And I will show you, this is the key of the car. So like a normal key for the Škoda, with open, close, and the trunk. And if you want to turn on the car, it's like in some old, many ICE cars that don't have a start-stop button. So we open the car. We turn on the car, and now it's turned on. I need to close the door. Okay, the average consumption 10.8, but it was even lower before. You can recognize these sticks from older Volkswagen models, and what we have here, it's a green area for you to drive eco, and when you brake, at least when you brake hard, it goes in the charge mode to recover energy. Also, the speedometer is quite big, and we have here a black and white screen with some info. First, we have the autonomy, average consumption, available power, range, distance that I drove the car until now, odometer, average speed for my trip, an electronic speedometer, speed warning, my travel time, and the instantaneous consumption, and again average consumption. This is the central console. The air comes from here. Some cars have here a support for your phone, and it also has here an USB port. This is the center console, very ergonomic, very simple. At least there are heated seats. And we also have automatic climate control. Now the AC is turned off. You remember, see, 132 kilometers. Let's start the AC. So on, and now 114. So I lost 18 kilometers just by using the AC. And also we have lane assist, very nice. This is the radio system. It has a green color. This is the color of the Škoda, but it's not touch screen, and at least you have physical buttons. Down here you have a nice cubby for your phone, a cubby for, you know, some plastic bottles and other stuff here, an Eco and Eco Plus button to drive more eco, and this is for opening the charging port. The charging port is where the fuel reservoir is for the ICE cars, and a 12-volt socket. This is the gear shifter. So quite simple, and the handbrake is manual. And this is the glove box. The glove box, it's medium sized, it's quite good, and you have a nice cubby here for, I don't know, little stuff. The mirror is quite normal, some warning lights here for the passenger airbag off, and these are the lights, and that would be all. But at least compared with the Spring, you have an airbag here, an airbag here, an airbag here, so an airbag here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 8 airbags. The charging port is where the fuel, the petrol reservoir would normally be. So this is the charging port. I'm already driving the Škoda Citigo on the past, let's say, 3 or 4 kilometers, and I have a very good energy consumption, under 12 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. You will see the conversion for those of you in UK on the screen. How the car feels, especially compared with the Dacia Spring, because the Dacia Spring, as I said, is the cheapest electric car in Europe, and the Škoda Citigo and Volkswagen E-Up is the second cheapest car in Europe. Well, I can definitely say that the price difference, you feel it, especially when driving this car, because compared to the Dacia Spring, this car is a little bit wider, and you feel, at least in the front, you feel that you have more room. The windshield, it's bigger than in the Spring. The side windows are also quite bigger. The side mirrors, are quite small, but enough for this car. But otherwise, generally speaking, it feels more roomy than the Spring, even if it's shorter, but it's a little bit wider. And also, the seat is adjustable for height, which you don't have in the Spring. And this also contributes a lot to the feeling that this car is more comfortable. The seats also offer me quite good support in it. I feel good in these seats. Now I'm going under 11 kilowatt hour energy consumption. The car is quiet, but of course this is normal for an electric car. But what I was able to notice is that the suspension feels very comfortable, and this was a surprise for me. This was something, let's say, unexpected, because the car is very short, and usually when the car is short, you feel the bumps and you feel that the car is very rigid. Well, it's not really the case here. For a car that this short, it feels quite comfortable. The suspension feels quite comfortable, and nevertheless, it is more comfortable than the suspension in the Dacia Spring, which again, I didn't expect that, because usually the cars from Dacia have a very soft ride, let's say. But now, in this car, the ride is softer than that in the Dacia Spring. Also, let's see, the steering wheel. Well, the steering wheel doesn't offer you a lot of feedback, but again, it's still better than in the Spring. And the acceleration, it's good. Of course, you have almost double the horsepower than in that of the Dacia Spring. So let's come back to the direction. You see, when you move the steering wheel, the car also responds. So the steering wheel is very light, normal for city driving, but in the Spring it was lighter than that, because in the Spring you were able to move the steering wheel like a wheel. You know, you were spinning it like a wheel. That was crazy. Not the case here. So it is a little bit firmer, the steering wheel, than that in the Dacia Spring. And as I said, the seats are also much more better, and you have a lot of you have more adjustment options. Again, I'm continuing to drive this car. Let's see, I drove 5 kilometers and the average speed was 22 kilometers per hour, and the fuel consumption is 10.7 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers, which is very low, much lower than what the producer was claiming in the WLTP cycle. The producer was claiming around 14.8, and in NEDC cycle 12.8, 12.9, but I think the WTP cycle, it's much more closer to reality than NEDC. Again, the car has air conditioning. When I started the car, the air conditioning was on and I had 125 autonomy left, and when I stopped the air conditioning, the autonomy immediately jumped to 138 kilometers. So 13 kilometers more after I stopped the air conditioning, which was, I mean, quite a lot. But again, it's hot, and I think if I'm starting it again, let's see, it dropped from 132 to 116. So I lost already, by only starting the air conditioning, I lost 16 kilometers. Otherwise, for city driving, it feels quite good, quite comfortable. And I think even for, let's say, not longer trips, but medium trips in the outskirts of the city and also in the, let's say, nearest neighboring city, you can drive it without any problems, in silence and comfort. So the end of the ride, I started the ride with 138 kilometers of range, and I went now, when I finished, 133 kilometers of range, but just wait and see, I drove 17 kilometers. So the range dropped with 5 kilometers while I drove 17 kilometers. That means that I drove quite eco. Of course, it helps the recovery, the energy recovery system, and I have an average energy consumption of only 9.5 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. I'm starting to think that electric cars are suiting me very well. Maybe I will buy one day. So here we are. What is my final opinion? Does it worth to pay 6 extra grand for the Volkswagen E-Up compared to the Dacia Spring? Well, 6 grand extra is a little bit too much. I understand this car is a little bit more comfortable in the more comfortable in the front and a little bit more comfortable in the back. It has a little bit more power, but in terms of range, the range is just a little bit bigger, so only 20-30 kilometers bigger. Also, it is safer. That is true, and that is clear. It is safer than the Dacia Spring, but this all comes for 6 extra grand. If this car, let's say, costs 2 or 3 grand more than 2,000 or 3,000 more than the Dacia Spring, then I would have said, yes, forget the Dacia Spring, go buy a Volkswagen E-Up. But in this case, it depends on you. 6,000 euros, It's quite a big amount of money for a car that it's not very different than the Dacia Spring. It is better, but not that better to worth it 6,000 more. But I think that if you can find a car like this used, let's say 1-2 years old and used, if you can get a price that it's, let's say, better than the Dacia Spring, then go for it. I hope you liked the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to. Don't forget to leave a comment and tell me what car you think it's worth more, the Škoda Citigo or Volkswagen E-Up or the Dacia Spring.